Okay, and we are live. And yes, my mouth is crooked. I had a stroke. Go on. Introduce yourself.
That's not funny for people who actually have had strokes.
Okay, I got Botox and it went in the wrong spot, and now I can't move my mouth, and I have a lisp, and don't get old.
All right. Well, we were going to talk about how I feel COVID made people who used to drink moderately, on average, made more people drink more, right?
Yeah.
It made people who used to drink moderately drink a little less moderately. And people who were dealing with depression, and they kind of had it under control. For some of them, for a lot of them, I think it gave them that extra little push over the edge, so that it was really clear for others to be aware of.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I definitely see that. In the beginning, we all thought we were gonna die, and like I said before, we enacted our like, okay, we're gonna die, so we don't have to be healthy anymore. Let's eat the food. Let's do whatever we want because I mean, this is it. And there's nothing we can do about it. We have no control, whatever. So I started
Versus what though, as opposed to not being aware of that, because that's always the case anyway.
well, you don't know when you're going to die. So you have to plan that you're going to live a long time. But when they're telling you, most people are going to die and you have to deal with it. You have to cope with that. Even if it's not you, it could be all your family and all your friends.
I don't think most people believed that though.
In the very beginning, they were showing those pictures from China, those videos from China where people were walking on the street and collapsing. And they're saying this is coming. It was all scare tactics. It was all fear. That's what we saw.
Not here.
Here, saw that. Maybe
I don't think that ever happened here.
different.
I think we were always aware, like from the very beginning, we had the numbers. I think they were pretty accurate. It was always like, yeah, this is just a little bit more than the usual 2% or something like that. I don't think it was ever like, yeah, everyone's gonna die. I don't think they ever thought that here.
That's the complete opposite. We heard we're all gonna die. There's nothing we can do. It's coming, and your choices were like go homeless because like you can't work. That's the only way to not get it is you don't work and then you'll end up homeless, or you go to work and you'll end up dead anyways. So these were the choices that we had in the beginning, and everyone was this was before any vaccines or before anything. So we thought like this is it. So everybody I know started just drinking more, started smoking, started trying things. We were just trying to cope, especially in the first few months where they're showing us these videos of people dropping dead that never happened here. But it was just so scary. Maybe China did it. Maybe gosh knows who's trying to like make us scared, or maybe it's just for ratings. Because at this point, like everything's about the ratings. The news stations that what's called legacy media was dying. Maybe this was their last chance to get views, and they were like really pumping content out for us, and fear drives ratings. It's undefeated. Anyway, so we had this idea that it was going to go down, so people started drinking, smoking, eating junk food. Everybody's gaining weight, but we're like, it doesn't matter because we're probably going to die, or we're probably going to be like really depressed because people close to us are going to die. So that's the kind of state we were in. And then when it didn't happen, there was a whole lot more, okay, it didn't happen. It doesn't seem like it's that serious anymore. And then people started going on like their little fitness journeys. And then some people who never lost weight in their life, now they were finally scared. Like, oh, this happened. And I knew for sure I was going to die because I was so unhealthy and overweight. Let me do the opposite and become healthy and fit. And they went that way. And then the people who were healthy and fit that said, screw it, now they're in a bad position. They either had to like go back to what they used to be doing, or maybe it took them longer to go back and there was still like some habits to be broken. But it was a big mess over here from what I saw personally in the US. It was a nightmare. We didn't get it's just a little bit more than normal. No, we got you're all gone.
Well, a lot of people here got in better shape during the lockdown because their only excuse to go outdoors was either to go for a run or to walk their dog. So people who didn't have dogs, a lot of people who didn't have dogs got dogs, and people who never used to work out started working out just to have an excuse to get out of the house.
Yeah,
The
we
lockdown
weren't
here
allowed that.
was a real lockdown. It was serious, the lockdown here, which is why I didn't stick around for it. That's why I left, and I was in Miami for 4 months.
Yeah. I remember, like, if you would go walking around in a public place, you would get yelled at. If you're putting
Yeah, but it
gas,
never it was
people
I mean, you
next
were
to you.
so free. I think you take it for granted. You don't realize how free you were in Florida.
Definitely, we were in Florida. It was the freest, but still, if you watch the news, there's still lingering trauma.
But your curfew is pretty reasonable considering, you know.
We had a curfew?
Most people don't normally stay out past that time anyway during weekdays, you know, like anyone who's got a job, you know, good people who are good during the week. Whereas here, the curfew is like 7 p.m., I think, something ridiculous. If I remember correctly, it was either 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Maybe I don't remember now. I got busted twice for being outside because I lived in a tiny apartment. This was after I came back. We had curfews, right? And I refused to be cooped up in my apartment just because, you know, because I wasn't scared. I didn't think it was justified, you know, and I wasn't putting anyone's life at risk because there was nobody around me, right? So I just stayed outdoors. I was just outside, and I got 400 euros worth, well, 375 euros worth of fines.
What?
And then yeah, it was I think two fines. No, it was a fine that I never got, and I automatically received the late fee fine, right? And I heard I was not the only one. I heard nobody got the initial fine. It's like they automatically got the one with the late fee added onto it. So I got that. The money was taken automatically out of my bank account. Like no, they didn't have to. I never had to pay the bank. Which begs the question: why didn't they just take the initial fee?
Yeah.
Because they wanted to charge the late fee anyway. So they took it directly out of my bank account, and the bank added another 25 euros just to add insult to injury. So it ended up being 400 euros taken out of my bank account just for breathing air outside, just for being outside after
But how
7
did
p.m.
they know? How do they know that, what you're doing?
Well, because there were police officers who were going around, you know, and then they caught me, and then they got my, you know, I don't lie to cops, that, you know, maybe naively, but I just figured if I get caught, it might be worse if I get caught lying. So I just told them my name, my address, everything, and then they sent me. Well, they found me, so they got the money out of my bank account
Mm, crazy.
months later. I mean, what would you do if that happened? Could that happen in the States? I think it.
They have been trying to do it. First, PayPal put something in their terms of service that if you post anything they don't like on the internet anywhere, and the guidelines for what they don't like, the most vague thing ever, they can just take money from your account.
What's worse though there is you can get into legal trouble over a stupid parking fine, right? Because when I was in Philly, I had a parking fine and I wasn't even aware of because I think maybe the wind blew it off my windshield or something. And so I found out about it maybe a year later. My ex landlord said, "Hey, you just got something in the mail here. It's really important. I think you ought to have a look at it." So I went, and it was this yellow envelope. You know, like you could have to pay 3,000 or do some jail time or something like that. It was like obvious that it was that they meant business, and I could have gotten into some serious trouble if I hadn't received that, if I hadn't paid it. I think it was like just 180 or something. It had racked up. I had racked up all these late fees because I wasn't aware of it, and I just paid it. But I think initially it was like $16 or something.
Mm.
And I think maybe that's scarier. You know, like what would you prefer? To just have the money taken out, maybe have one late fee added on and have that money taken out of your bank account, or to end up having to go to court to avoid doing jail time because of a parking ticket? Now, I don't know if that's possible, but
Neither.
from what I read, it is possible, or it was
I mean,
back then.
they said that, but I've gotten tons of those before, and nothing ever came of it. You just
It
go
would
and
be dumb,
pay.
I think,
And
to throw someone in prison for a parking ticket, you know?
it would have to be like you got caught doing another crime and they look it up and they see this on your record so they can tack that on. It's not like they'd go out and hunt you down for parking tickets.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, that happens all the time.
Yeah, have
Anyways,
you had parking tickets, snowball?
not snowball, but I've had it where like supposedly I got a parking ticket, but maybe somebody took it from the windshield or whatever. And there was no way for me knowing. And then you get like the letter months and months later that, it's late or whatever.
But how can they even prove that you were there, that your car was parked there at that time?
I don't know. I'm
Because
sure
then,
now they can more easily, but at the time, I don't think we had that much technology. It was kind of like they said it and that's it.
yeah, I don't like that.
I don't either. But, anyways, so moving back to, I want to also talk about the cost of living and how inflation is like snowballing over here. And I've noticed in a lot of red states in the US, they have increased homeowners insurance and car insurance and this insurance and that insurance, sometimes as much as 700% increases. And they're saying it's because, oh, you're in a flood zone, oh, you're in a hurricane zone, oh, you're in a fire zone, oh, you're in this or whatever. But 700% is ridiculous. And a lot of insurance companies are moving out of different states and they're not trying to get you back. So, like, for example, they'll call and say, you need to renew your insurance instead of, I don't know, 10,000 a year. Now it's going to be 50,000 a year. And then you're like, I can't afford that. And they're like, oh, yeah, I understand. You have to do what you have to do. And they don't even try to like work anything out. It's just like, yep, it is, which is more
What
scary, I
about
think.
Yeah, but by law, you have to have certain types of insurance.
Yeah, you do. So then you're just shopping around and insurance companies like let's go with home insurance, homeowners insurance. It's kind of a racket because it's a few major corporations that and then mini corporations that are owned by them, and they might seem like small businesses but they're really owned by this one big one. They buy like smaller ones, keep the name, whatever. But there is an illusion of choice. There's pages and pages and pages and pages of insurance companies, but they kind of set the prices all the same now, which is,
Oligopoly?
yeah, it's supposed to be illegal. But yet, what are we going to do? So, I do not know what's going on here. I know like huh?
It's not just there.
No, of
You know,
course.
cost of living is on the rise here as well, and they have problems, particularly housing, because their salaries are so much lower, I think,
Yeah.
and making an average salary, what an average French person makes here, having to pay what an average person has to pay on rent here, and spend what you have to spend for gas and other bills, now that they've gone up, I think I don't remember the exact percentages, but they've gone up significantly. They've gone up big time. Electricity, in particular, I think, um, since November of last year, maybe before that. So now I'm scared to turn my heater on, because I know that we're talking like at least twice as expensive as it used to be, probably. You know.
Yeah, I think here too, not so much for electricity, but all the insurances, car insurances have gone crazy. Homeowners insurance has gone crazy. The HOAs are going up everywhere. It's just like tacking on expenses. Oh, and my health insurance like tripled. I
So do you
mean,
think? Yeah.
salaries don't triple. You can't triple health insurance from one year to the
Right.
next.
Right. Which is why I wonder: are we going to see an increase in homelessness?
Yeah, it's already happened here. Everybody's homeless. Florida has the least amount of homeless, but because all the wealth is kind of coming here because we're more free, here in Texas seem to be the places where everyone's moving. But the rest of the country, and even in Texas and Florida, we still have it. We've always had some homeless, but the rest of the country, they're just tents, especially very liberal states. They're tents everywhere with people on fentanyl. And that just skyrocketed from the pandemic because the despair and not being able to work and losing your business, losing your savings, your livelihood, your retirement, everything.
That's what I was talking about, and you see it in Paris as well. You see more tents. I don't care what anybody says. I've seen more tents. Because I moved here in 2018, and looking around now, I don't remember seeing this many tents scattered around the city. And it's because, I mean, COVID definitely didn't help, because the people who are sort of tottering, you know, on the edge of being mentally sound and being able to hold a job and go about their daily lives and not, those people they fell down. They were now, and those are the people. That's the difference. Those are the added people that you see on the streets now. You see in tents and stuff. And I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon. To
Yeah,
sound
and
totally dramatic and alarmist, but I just
no,
don't
I
think
think it's true.
there's no sign of, I mean, what's going to make it better. What is there to be optimistic about? What is going to change? What is AI going to fix this problem? I don't think so.
No, the more technology, the more unhappy people have become. It
Oh,
doesn't make
forget
things
happy or
better.
unhappy. What about just employed?
Yeah,
Let's
that
start with
too.
employed.
I think I said this before to you, but I think doubling the workforce by making women work was a way to artificially create what looked like economic growth, but really wasn't because you were lowering the salaries by half in all the industries where women joined. So instead of making enough to support a family, now you're just making enough to support one person. And then the more
You,
people go into the field, the more supply and demand.
you make
There's
it
too
sound like
much
it was
supply.
deliberate. Yeah, but you make it sound
Yes,
like,
I believe it was deliberate. I believe it was deliberate.
no, I don't think it was deliberate. I think it just happened because things got so expensive that just to stay afloat, women had to start working.
No,
No? Okay.
no. I don't
So
I
how
don't
did
believe
it
that. I believe we were taught by movies and television shows that men are abusive and they're just going to lie, cheat and steal and leave you alone, leave you for the secretary, and then you're going to be homeless with your kids, and if you don't have the degree, you are in the worst situation of life. Like that's what they sold. They sold fear. What they always sell fear. They never sell it's going to be good.
To be fair, though, was that totally a false narrative?
Of course
Because I
not. We've
mean, think
always
about,
had a small section of the population where they're messed up. There's drug abuse, there's physical abuse, there's, violence and infidelity and like severe problems. That's always been a part of society, but it was a small part of society. And then we blew it up, made it mainstream, made this the norm, scared every single female from a small age saying you have to do it on your own. If you trust a man because they are untrustworthy, then you're going to be homeless with kids, a single mom, whatever, destitute when you're old. Like that was the fear that we saw every life. Have you watched Lifetime? That channel is all just like scare the shit out of every woman channel. It's just like he killed me while I was pregnant for the life insurance. He killed me while
Okay, but
I was going through cancer. He left me and stole all my money while I was going through cancer treatments and blah blah blah. All of these things. And when my husband was learning, he took a course in hypnosis, how it really works. It's not like the snap your fingers and you go under type of stuff. How it really works is you tell someone a story over and over and over where they internalize it and it becomes their own thoughts. And they think they came up with that thought. So if you tell women over and over, men lie, cheat, steal, murder you, will leave you, will do this, the men think it's okay for me to do that. The women think absolutely all men do that, and I have to protect myself at all costs. I have to shut myself down. I have to do A, B, and C, and D to protect myself. And you have two people at odds with each other when you do that. That is hypnosis. And the same thing with the media. This is going to happen, this is going to happen, negative, 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 and then it becomes your internal dialogue. You think it came from you. That's why when you argue with people, they will tell you points that they heard on television. They just regurgitate it. There's no more thinking involved. They think that that idea came from them.
okay, things tend to sound like big conspiracies when I talk to you. So who are the conspirators here? Who's responsible? Right? Who did this? Who's responsible? Who had this evil master plan?
Look, I don't know. I just know that it's too convenient. Okay, if you want to go to like secret societies and stuff like that, like there was one person in a secret society who was like the head of like the secret society, and he had a letter that went public. This is, I don't know, 1900 something, 1800 something like that. And it basically defined what all the 3 world wars would be, what they would be fought over, and why they needed to be fought over those like what they were actually trying to destroy by doing these things. And the first 2, obviously it already happened and he got right. The last one, he said it would be against Zionists and I think like Islam, and that they would mutually destroy each other. And if you had said this a year ago, people would laugh. But it was written. So somebody's planned it. I mean, all I'm saying is if this was already written by the people who have secret societies for whatever, as long as we know.
According to whom? Like, where did you read this though? Because you need to question like the reliability of your source.
Okay, I mean, the people who know. And you know, like I'm not, I can't convince you because I'm not an expert, but I listen to people who like research this stuff, and that's what they said. And when I heard it, it was before any of this happened. So now looking back on it.
Well, let's not get carried away. Let's go back to what we were talking about, right? So you're saying there's definitely been a change. You definitely see more homelessness all over the country.
Not just homelessness, but like
there's no way to deny it anymore. There's clearly a difference now.
Clearly, and hopelessness.
So this is not going off of, statistics you've seen in the news or anything.
No, it's just looking with your eyes.
Right. So where have you seen this? And like, can you give me some examples, some anecdotes, or I don't know, just give me something so that I know, I know it's real.
Okay. Just like what you said when you were looking around in Paris, you see more tents. Now, when I'm looking around.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just curious to know what you're basing your story on, like why you've come to this conclusion. Because I've come to the same conclusion, but every time I voice it, it's like people deny it. Everyone's like, no,
who are you voicing it to? People who like are asleep?
Well, people who believe the news, people who believe statistics, people who believe everything that they read or they see. But just looking around, I know, because I have a good enough memory, and I know that I didn't see this many tents before.
That's
And also just
gaslighting.
talking to people. Also just talking to people. You know, we didn't just, you know, because I meet a lot of different people. I meet a lot of people, and we talk a lot, and we talk about their lives and stuff. And I've noticed a difference. People are not as optimistic about, you know, the future as they used to be. You know, about
But how
their
can they
financial
be?
situation and what they're going to be able to afford. You know, they talking about vacations and stuff. It's a very different conversation now. You know, 5 years ago, more than 5 years ago, people were, yeah, their vacations were more interesting. They would travel more, and I feel like now they might still travel, but they don't go as far away. It's not like they don't go to Seychelles. I don't hear people going to the Maldives anymore. I hear about people going to another part of France. They stay in the country. They definitely stay in the continent. You know,
Yeah.
so I've noticed the same, not maybe not to the same degree, but I've noticed a difference, and I'm well aware of it personally on a personal level. It's just there's this mass denial I'm met with as well, so that I question myself. It causes me to question my sanity sometimes. Is it me? Am I
You
hallucinating?
know what that's called,
Am I
right? That's
seeing?
called
Yes, I
gaslighting,
do. But I mean, it's not intentional. It's not.
but it is what they're doing.
But what would I think it's not about gaslighting. It's just about keeping people calm, not having people like lose. Because if people in this system, right? If you have a capitalist system, if people don't feel there's any real incentive to keep trying because they know they're never going to improve their situation, people just give up in mass, and you don't want that because then you just have people lying around, you know, protesting and starting riots,
I
right?
mean, they kind of are. If you look in
They
some
are.
parts of the
Yeah,
country,
yeah, the
they're
gilets jaunes,
doing
the
that.
yellow vests, and a bunch of other things that happen here all the time. So you already do have that, you know, the retirement thing, a bunch of things. Since I've in the 5 years I've lived here, 5.5 years I've lived here, I've lost count of how many protests and little mini riots there have been. You know. So sorry, you tell me what you've seen firsthand, right? So not in the news, not people telling you stuff, like what you've seen with your own eyes.
Well, you can look up what happened to LA. I have family members that live there, and they're like, before, they'd be little areas with homeless people. Always, always. Yeah, they'd be little pockets doing drugs. Now it's even coming into like the wealthy people's home, where in front of their homes, there'll be people with like needles and stuff like that, like in front of their homes. That's never happened before. That hasn't happened ever. Even when we had like the height of like drugs, it's never been this bad. This is the height. So just knowing that it's getting bigger, the area where they're taking up is expanding, not contracting, and people are just moving away, and then the homeless people are just expanding, and then you go to talk to them. Like there's one person who's like, oh, maybe everybody is moving to like California that's homeless because they have great laws or whatever. But then the people interview them, where are you from? They're all locals, so they just got pushed out of being able to live and work. A lot of them were working and living out of
So
their car.
yeah, that's another thing I've seen a lot of. You don't necessarily see everything because some people still have cars. They live in their cars. So you see a lot of tents, but you also see there are a lot of people who are homeless you don't see because they hide it. They still have jobs. They're working homeless.
Yeah.
They have cars and they live in their cars. It's really depressing. But what when something eventually does give, because there's got to be a point at which the government must take action. What do you think the government will do if it ever gets to that point?
Well, the most dangerous thing that you can ever hear is, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. So I would say nothing good is going to come out of it. It'll be like universal basic income that comes with a tie to like, we own you. You're basically indentured slaves. They're talking about doing like what's it called, company cities again. So let's say you work for Walmart, they make like housing for you. So your housing, your insurance, your everything to survive is tied to your job. If you lose your job, you lose everything. So you can't say anything against the company
Yeah,
you work
it's
for.
like going back to medieval times. You know, you live in your little manor, and if you if you offend someone in the manner, then you get kicked out of it and you're excommunicated. You're banished.
Yeah, and they want to do smart cities, so they're starting to build smart cities in the middle of nowhere now, all over the world. And in these smart cities, you are tracked 100% of the time, but they're trying to say it's safer, it's this, it's that, whatever, more convenient. But you have a smaller and smaller living space, almost no rights, no ability to grow your own crops or know where anything that you consume comes from, or have alternative types of healthcare. It's whatever that they allow, and that's it. It's full control.
Okay. What about people who aren't as desperate? What happens with them? Like people who have property, some property.
I
Do you
think
think?
that's why they're taxing and raising the insurance rates. So ultimately, they're going to push everyone out and then buy up the land and then rebuild more smart cities.
Buy up the land. Why would they need to buy up the land?
To destroy everything and rebuild smart cities.
Why don't they just take it?
They do that too. But it's more costly. It takes more time. You have to go to court. You have to pay off some people. It's easier just to bankrupt everybody, kick them out that way.
Yeah, but the money comes from the people. Technically, it's taxpayers' money. If the government's spending,
yeah, so
they're buying.
They just print more, go more into debt, and the companies make the money, and the companies fund the government. It's what's it called? The snake eating its tail.
So, how convinced are you that something is definitely going to happen? Something's definitely going to. The boiling point is definitely on its way.
100%, because it's planned. And I don't see anybody doing anything about it. I don't see anybody standing up as much as they should. A lot of people are just quiet, pacifying themselves with drugs, alcohol, and porn addictions.
How soon do you see this coming?
2030.
7 years, 6.5. No. 6 years. 6 years now. Why 2030?
Because that's what they told us that we're going to do it by.
What do you mean?
Because they talk about it. They have world summits about it, and they're like, by this date we're going to push everybody into the smart cities and whatever. And that's their goal. They're going to make everything a smart city. The World Economic Forum, a bunch of billionaires all over the world planning the fate of everyone because they know best. They don't like us eating meat. They don't like us having pets. They don't like us farming because it makes us too independent. They want full control. They want us to eat the bugs. They're pushing bugs now into meat products little by little. You'll see it in different ingredients in the US especially. They call it many different things, like MSG. It's like I've got 1,000 names on the back of the label. And they do the same thing with insects. And a lot of people are allergic, obviously, to insects. So they're getting autoimmune conditions, rashes, ill health, vitamin mineral deficiencies, all of that from the stuff that's hidden in the food.
So are you saying that there are already insect ingredients in meat people are eating now?
Yes. Do you want to see?
Sure.
I can find. Let me see.
So it sounds like the beginning of is it Soylent Green? Soylent Green? You know Soylent Green?
No.
It's a book and a film. I can't remember the exact name of it. I think it's Soylent Green. Yeah, Soylent Green. You'd probably like that. It's
Why?
50 years old now. Because it's kind of about how, I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's related. Let's just say it's related. It's worse than what you're describing, but it is related. So read up on it.
Okay. This is one.
No, but I mean, like, what actual restaurants do you know of?
Look at this. Look at this. They're trying to sell it. It's so good for you. Oh my goodness. Putting bugs on the menu. Ugh. Let's see. Oh, it's a superfood. Wow. Anyways.
Yeah,
Like,
but I mean, examples. I was looking for examples of people actually eating that already.
oh,
Where it could be found, hidden.
I heard Tyson Foods insect. Let's see. Eh. October 24th, 2023. A Netherlands-based company specializing in eating bugs and insect ingredients. Tyson. Let's see. It will save the planet. Wow. Black soldier flies. Oh my gosh. Do you know how gross those are?
No.
I was going to breed them for my fish. And I looked into how it isn't so disgusting. So I said, no way.
Why? What's so disgusting about them?
I think like they eat, they can have parasites and they eat like stinky stuff like flies and stuff. So you'd
They
have
are
to have like, yeah, but they're particularly large.
okay. I've probably seen them. Yeah. Where I lived for 3 years, there was a lot of pig shit everywhere. There was a lot of pig farming, so we had a lot of them around there.
Well, that's good. You got to see pig shit. That means the pigs were running around. Italy is the only country.
Smell pig shit every morning as well.
Well, that's natural. It's better than the industrially farmed pigs where they're in a warehouse and then you just see
They
like
were, they were. I didn't see these. I mean, I saw the flies. I didn't see the shit. I smelled it, but I didn't see it. And it was obviously it was industrialized. It wasn't like Wilbur's, whatever the name of that book.
Charlotte's Web.
Charlotte's Web. Thank you. Good memory. You've got a good memory.
For dumb shit, yes.
I totally forgot that. I mean, I remember the book, but I forgot the title. Charlotte's Web.
Yep. So, anyways, I think they're going to push this war. They're talking about cells being all over the world. And so
Is
they're
anyone
going
going
to do.
to join us today?
Huh?
Is anyone
No.
going to join us? No, because like the
No.
past couple we've had. No.
Yeah, I know. But people are busy. It's like a weird time. They can usually do it really late at night.
Do you know how many people are watching now?
We have like a few that come and go, but people tend to watch after work or late at night.
But do you have an exact number now? People who are watching now?
No, because I only know one of the platforms. The rest do not collect views. But anyways,
And why are we doing this?
why do we do anything?
Well, especially stuff like this, because we could just chat without an intermediary or without someone potentially listening in. What is our objective here?
All right, what do you want to chat about?
No. I'm just curious. This is what I want to chat about. Actually, I want to chat about why we're doing it on StreamYard instead of just Skype, for example.
I don't use Skype, and this will automatically put it onto all the different platforms for me with no work.
Yeah, why
And
put it on the platforms is my question. Why not just have a conversation that nobody else
well, then
is
you
aware
should
of?
have said that.
No. I'm not saying I have a problem with it. I'm asking what the goal is.
Well, I think that there's people who think the same things and they don't have anyone to talk to about them, so they think they're crazy.
Well, my sister thinks like you. She thinks
She
that.
thinks a little bit too much like me.
Have you kept talking to her?
No, I haven't, but like, I don't know. Maybe I
Yeah.
should.
What's different? What's different? What's different between the way she thinks and the way you think? Where do you differ?
I don't want to say anything bad about your sister.
There's no need. There's no need. You could just say what you don't agree about. What don't you
Well,
agree on?
I mean, I would hope that she would research more on functional medicine and less on just like alternative TikTok medicine, which it can be like it can give you a clue to what to research, but it's not the end all be all.
Okay, but aside from dietary stuff, going
That's
more to
with
like the government
medicine. Oh,
conspiracy theory stuff, because you seem to be, when I saw you talking, you're totally on the same wavelength.
well, I mean, the things that I believe in is because I would go to the website, the World Economic Forum, whatever, and they would have this like these are our goals, our objectives. No meat, no this, no private ownership. You will own nothing and you will be happy. It's a slogan. They put it out. They tweeted it. I mean, they're not hiding it. You know what I mean? And there's conversations online. They post it like on like live streams, and you'll see them talking about it like, yeah, we have no choice, we have to do this because we know best, we know more than everyone else.
Well, it's also because we're all pretty worthless now.
Yes, the wealthy class finds us dirty, stupid, worthless,
No, but I mean, just
useless.
factually, like, it's not even a matter of opinion. I think what just think of the people you know and think
Oh
about
my gosh.
what they produce that is of any real tangible value for society, because they don't make things that we consume. They don't provide, most of them probably don't provide essential services, which is why it was so easy for them to take a break for like a year and work from home, because they're not doing anything that's essential. The world isn't, our entire system isn't going to collapse because you're not there in front of
Well,
your
there
computer.
were a few essential jobs that we didn't think
Yeah,
very
of
highly of.
course, of course, those are the real essential ones, because your train needs to be there, needs to go somewhere. The sewer, the water works, everything needs to work. Those things need to work. um your what else needs to work, like the electricity, all the essential things, all the things that people freak out about when they don't have it. When there's a hurricane, you realize that. Hospitals, obviously, that
Yeah.
was the clearest one. Like, we were painfully aware of that one. But most other people, they're pretty worthless. It's not like in the old days where even if you were ignorant, if you didn't have much to offer, you could at least offer your brute force, right? Your labor, because technology hadn't made it so that that was totally superfluous. Now we're totally unnecessary because we've got where before you needed 300 guys, you know, and an ox or something or whatever. Now you just do it with a robotic arm and AutoCAD or something. I don't know. It's just like so much easier to work with fewer people. Everything's automated, and increasingly so. It's something that is developing exponentially, and people don't fathom that, I think, enough. They don't appreciate that enough. The fact that all this stuff is developing exponentially. So very quickly, before you know it, jobs are just going to vanish. The little jobs that are left, the few jobs. Now, this sounds extremely pessimistic, but I mean, I think the reason it's pessimistic, or the reason I don't think it's pessimistic, is because I'm aware of how exponential functions work. And it's like once it hits that edge, right, that corner, it's a hockey stick, right? Once it shoots up, you're done for.
Yeah, like how Google got rid of encyclopedias, libraries became less important. A whole bunch of stuff just immediately vanished.
Yeah, and you always get the same argument, from people who want to stay optimistic. They don't want anyone to freak out. Like, oh, well, think of all the jobs that didn't exist before, and that exist now. Okay, but how many of them are really indispensable to survival, right? Not many. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
all it means is like, yeah, we're all riding high in this wonderful abstract world, this abstract economy where no one actually does anything essential or of any essential value, and they live nice, comfy lives, and that's perfectly fine as long as what we rest on, right, what we're all dependent on, doesn't collapse, right? As long as the people who are actually doing the work don't just say, don't really feel like working in the sweatshop today. Don't really feel like getting paid shit to make your sneakers and to build your toys and to build this and to do that and to do your farming and to, you know what I mean, et cetera, et cetera.
mm-hmm. But let's flip it. Some good things that happened recently. More people than ever are going into farming. And I know that that's probably something that sounds crazy to you, but we've never had this much interest in farming, especially in the United States. And people are homesteading like crazy. People are just saying, I'm done. I'm buying a bunch of land with like a creek and some water source on it and getting a couple families together, friends, whatever, and moving over there. And we're just homesteading and selling what we have, what we produce.
So there's going to be greater inequality. The inequality is going to continue to grow, right? Because these are landowners, not just landowners, people with enough land to farm, which is a lot of land.
Yes, but you can
Obviously,
find very cheap land by selling one shitty little apartment in downtown Miami.
okay, I mean, it might be good for everyone to sort of just spread out more evenly.
I
Right.
think so. I think cities are the problem. And the more they say smart cities, full control, the more they do that, the more some people that are intelligent are saying, why? I don't want this. I'd rather have no internet and go back and just farm myself and whatever. And people are reaching out to the Amish and saying, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I unplug?
Yeah, but we don't really want to unplug.
Yeah. I mean, they're still posting how they unplug on their YouTube channels, which are getting millions and millions and millions of views.
Right.
But the good thing is there's millions and millions of views. That means there's lots of interest. Whereas before, imagine like 20 years ago, someone said they were homesteading, we'd be like, what a loser. How sad.
Yeah, but it's just like every little trend, like everything. It has its life cycle. you know, and when it's over, it'll be over.
Do you think it's like the hippies communes?
Yeah, it's exactly what I was thinking of. That's exactly what I was thinking of.
I mean, I get why the hippie communes didn't work, because it wasn't based on families. So when you eventually find someone you want a family, the commune breaks down. That's why they didn't have longevity. But if you go in with your family and multiple families are there, you have your own plot, your own section, and you just kind of like work together, then I can see that working more long term, because there are some examples of hippie communes that started around the same time,
So
but they
what's the name of your
homesteading. Huh?
what is the name of your Mormon cult then, Kat?
I don't have the names of them and stuff like that, but like I was
Oh
watching
no, the name of
videos.
yours. It sounds
Oh,
like
mine?
you're joining some
Oh,
kind
my
of
dream?
yeah, it sounds like
No,
that's your
it's not
dream.
going to be based on Mormons,
What, you know, what
but
is the name of your cult? What is it going to be called?
I don't know. I haven't thought about a name. I don't think of names as the first thing that's important.
That is not the answer I expected. I expected like cult. No, I would never start a cult. That's what I expected, Kat.
Well,
I
you
was throwing
didn't, you expected wrong.
So you do want to start a cult.
Well, I mean, think about it. A cult is just a religion before it's successful.
I don't like either one. I don't like religion either. I don't like religion. I
Look,
don't
I
like
don't really care. Like, I feel like cults are
cult.
better. We should have multiple cults, multiple decisions of where we can go, like based on what we believe in. So my cult will be, you're not allowed to have factory farm foods, vegetables. No. Yeah. Everybody
Why?
has, because I don't like it. So I think everybody has to be responsible for growing something, either animals or plants or whatever, and then helping out in the community. And
It sounds pretty communist or fascist. I don't know. It sounds like one of those. It sounds like an ism.
okay,
And it's
yes, but
liberalism.
it'll be like a homeowners association. You have to agree to the rules before you buy land on it.
And how are you going to
Own your
enforce?
own land on it, but these are the rules. You're not bringing in factory farmed anything.
How are you going to enforce that, Stalin?
Obviously we'd have to kill people. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if you realize
It gets
how.
dark quickly.
I don't know if you realize how much this sounds like, you know,
Okay, whatever. Look, I haven't thought it through
the
clearly.
USSR in the late 40s or in the early 50s. I don't know. I don't
Okay,
think they.
fine. Let's fix my cult. How would you fix it so you feel it's more
Well, freedom is pretty important. You know, people, or at least the
okay? You
illusion.
have the freedom to join the cult or not. There's your freedom.
What happens if you don't? You continue eating.
You live wherever you want, or you start your own cult.
You can eat whatever you want as
Yeah,
well.
just do
Okay.
whatever you want. Like, you're not a part of the community.
I guess that could work. You know, you give them an incentive to join instead of beating their head. You know,
Okay, lead with that. We'll lead with that. We'll lead with the incentives of you don't have to eat factory farmed fruits and vegetables. Instead of saying you cannot, you don't have to eat it. You can come here and you'll never eat it again.
well, I think just the difference in your health should be enough of an incentive. People know.
Yes.
Most people are aware of the fact it's better to eat stuff that's organic and locally grown, etc. They're aware of it. They just can't. It's not practical for them. It's not affordable for them.
Do you know one of the reasons why our food is not as nutritious right now?
Monsanto's.
Okay, because we used to grow most of our primarily fruits and vegetables in our backyards. Not fruits, but vegetables in our backyards, herbs and vegetables. So everyone had a small little garden and they would grow whatever crop seasonally. And you would have a fire in the house. You would burn wood, and wood has all the minerals that you need. So you would take the ash and put in the garden. And that's where the plants would absorb all the vitamins and minerals mainly in the right amounts. So with factory farming, they only give it the minimum stuff required for the plants to grow, no minerals. So they're completely depleted and you're just eating something, but it's not giving you what you need. So then you're sick, you're depleted. You can't make bones, neurotransmitters, everything.
Well,
Yeah.
there are minerals though in food.
It's
They're not totally depleted. Maybe they're
pretty
fewer.
depleted.
I mean, I think just for it to be able to grow, it must have some mineral content. No? What's that sound?
Hold on. I'm Googling it. Okay. On average, across 43 vegetables analyzed, calcium content declined by 16%, iron by 15%, and phosphorus by 9%. Okay, 70 years of nutritional decline in today's fruits. This is good. Let's see this one.
That's just because they've been genetically engineered to have more water. They're mostly water now, so the percentage of the minerals is going to be smaller per weight, probably.
I mean, I'm sure there's a
And
lot
also
of
bigger.
reasons.
They're bigger too. So I'm saying they're probably bigger too. Like you get an apple now, it's probably bigger than an apple used to be because they've been genetically modified to grow faster, to grow bigger. But it's mostly water. I think it ends up. I think that's probably why we're also bloated and we retain water, because you are what you eat, and we're eating this genetically modified stuff that is designed to retain water and look big, but really it's just swollen big. It's not real big. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's that, and you're eating sick animals.
Oh yeah.
So the
Or
vegetables are
animals that
depleted.
aren't sick because they're pumped up
Hormones and whatever.
with antibiotics, hormones and antibiotics.
Yeah, I mean, all of these things combined, it's not one thing, it's 100 things that they're doing simultaneously to make us unhealthy. This is what you
But
would
that's not
feed.
the but you make it sound so malicious. I really don't think
It
that
is
that's
malicious
I don't
when
think there's
everything is about
how else
profit, right? If you have a society that's profit above all else, you must profit every quarter, or
Mhm.
the shareholders will like take you off the, as your
Yeah, it's apathy,
position.
it's indifference. It's indifference. They're not trying to kill you. They're not trying to hurt you. They're just indifferent. They just don't care if you die, or they don't give a shit as long as they make their
Yes,
profit.
but that's the thing, like, the person is scared of losing their job, so they're gonna cut corners, they're gonna do whatever they can,
Yeah.
and the board only cares about making their money because that's, their retirement, or they're just evil, whatever you wanna call them.
Mhm.
But, when there's nothing when they are left unchecked, this is where the government should come in, not giving us parking tickets. They should come in and say, "Nobody's allowed to put profit over human health."
But they do to some extent because you still have the FDA and you have things like that. There is
The
regulation.
FDA is bought. It's bought out. You
Prove
can
that.
you can pay them off. Yes, it's
Prove
been
that.
for forever. Huh? Oh my god.
I think I want to see some evidence of that.
Okay, let's
I
look
think
up how
we
many
need
drugs let's just look at that. How many drugs have been recalled? How much food has been recalled? Let's look up food recalls last month.
you just said it. They were recalled. So
Yes, but you know why
someone's
how do they get recalled? How do they get recalled?
looking out. Someone's
No, no,
checking.
no. Enough. They have to have enough people reach out. Like there's a threshold that has to be
They have a
crossed
place to
before
reach
they
out to.
even look into it, which
They have
means
someone
that
to
they
reach
are
out
not.
to. They have
What?
someone to reach out to. They have someone to tell. They have to blow the
Wow.
whistle.
It
Blow
does
the
not help
whistle.
the people who die of listeria that, their
How,
family can reach out and say, hey,
how common is that? Seriously,
it's
how
pretty
common?
common. Let's go look up how many people died from listeria. Okay. Whatever. Well, that's not the biggest one. 1,500.
It's not
But
the
there's
most
other things.
significant statistic,
What
but
are some other things people die from? Like, I don't know.
obesity.
Shut up. That's not something I can blame on the food, even though it's the food quality is definitely a part of it. But anyways,
I don't know. Like, let's just entertain the possibility that the government and well, corporations are acting out of self-interest. So that I agree with you on. They're just selfish, but they don't necessarily have malicious intentions. Like, they have no reason to be to have they have no reason to care one way or the other. They don't care about hurting us. They don't care about saving us. They just want to make money. That's their only prerogative. But the government just wants to keep things from getting carried away, from going out of hand, and they don't want people to just start dropping off like flies. That's not in the government's best interest. They don't have this evil plot to kill like the poor or
oh
to
my gosh.
I really don't think so. And if they did, I think they if population control was their objective, I think they would go about it in a much more humane way. Like a at worst, they try something like the Chinese, with the single child policy or something like that. They'd go about it differently, obviously, but it would be more about trying to contain it, trying to keep it under control instead of trying to kill people off. I really don't think that is ever going to happen or that has ever happened in the history of or in modern in our times. I just don't
Well,
believe that. I don't want to believe that.
okay.
Do you really think that like they're try, trying to kill us, trying to kill us off slowly?
If they've planned the next world war, if they've been talking about how they had a chart, the World Economic Forum, before they took it off because people found out about it and started posting it. There's a chart saying how much they want to lower each country's population. And I think like the US, UK, Canada were like the highest, like 90%. And it's just like, what? Like, what are they going to do to lower it 90%? That's
Well, if
crazy.
you have one child, if every family has
By
just one,
2030.
a lot of people are, they're dying. Like the
Fentanyl,
elderly.
freaking depression, suicide. They're making that easier. They're
Being old, just being
assisted
old, the baby boomers, they're just reaching that age where they're starting to die, like.
90%. The cool thing is
Oh, are
that
you sure? No, but I don't think no, that can't be right. But you must
obviously
the birth rate, not population.
it was population. But anyways, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Like I can't pull it up because they pulled it.
I
So
just refuse to believe that
you can
90%.
refuse to believe everything. That's fine. Most people do.
90%. Why?
Didn't you say that like you don't like it when people just like immediately say there's no way and they don't even give it like a thought?
Well, because it's preposterous. Like it's seriously, like why? What would the reason
Why
be?
did they say that everybody was going to die from a COVID in the beginning? Why did they say that? What was the point of that? Why did they say that smoking cigarettes were safe and doctor recommended? Why did they say that?
They didn't know that. They didn't know any
They
better, and
didn't
it
know. They
sounds like
had
they told
studies that said it was. They just paid off doctors who would be willing to say that it wasn't.
who
There's always
you always say they. There's always
okay,
this
the companies that make
company.
cigarettes.
But we're talking about two different entities. And I've already said that the
There's
companies
no
are
difference between companies, corporations, and the government
there is
because
though.
corporations fund the government.
Okay, so technically they're often in bed together, but that doesn't mean that they're not separate entities.
They're
Uh,
separate entities, but they're still owned by the same people.
they're okay. You could argue that, and that's fine. But all I'm saying is, if there was knowledge, if people knew that cigarettes were bad for you, and it didn't, and we didn't know about it, it was because of private interests. It was because of the corporations just wanting to continue to maximize profits, right? It's not because there's a conspiracy to kill us off. Okay, you're mixing things now.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, why else would they have made it? Why would they have let us know then? Why would they have made that announcement? Why would they have announced that
Because
it is?
okay, look, you have to be very arrogant to think that the people are just all stupid, retarded people that you can say and do anything to and they won't even notice because they're just give them bread and wine and theater and whatever, they'll never revolt type of thing. A few people noticed. That's why they took it down. There was enough people that noticed. Before, the amount of people that would notice were just like a few crazy people and people would easily dismiss them. Now more and more people are like,
No, but cigarettes.
I
Like,
don't
why
think
would
I
you?
can.
No, but I don't. Okay, if they wanted us to hurt ourselves or to kill ourselves for us to die off, I don't think they're going about it in a very smart way. Like here on cigarette
How
packages,
would you do it?
you have pictures that show you all the terrible things that are going to happen to you if you keep smoking. They're trying to get people to stop, trying to get people to quit
It
smoking.
took like
And
20
also,
something years
how many bars are you not allowed to smoke in anymore in the States?
now, but they made so much money and then they moved on to something else.
You know, Kat, we'll just agree to disagree. I really don't think the government's trying to kill us off. Maybe they're trying to keep us from killing ourselves off. You know, maybe. It's like if you're a farmer and you're trying to keep your sheep like from doing stupid things. Part of that might be reproducing at an unsustainable rate. But I don't think you're going to want to kill off your sheep, because if you kill off your sheep, you're not going to be in very good shape for very long. I mean, unless they're going to give the country to China. You know, is that what you're talking about? Is it the wealthy selling the U.S. to China, basically, to pay off all the
I
debt?
don't think it's a country thing. I don't think wealthy people give a crap about race and countries.
So why would they have to bring down the population by 90%? That's asinine.
Well, they don't need us anymore. There's enough technology.
We don't need us anymore.
That's
They
nihilism.
So who gets to stick around? Who doesn't
The
get, like?
wealthy and those that the wealthy deems are necessary. Maybe like some scientists or high level engineers, people who make the AI, people who put those things together, people that are easier to control, people who are on their side. If you thought it was, look, Thanos in his mind, remember like the Marvel movies and stuff like that, right? So they had the character Thanos. And the meme is always like how the World Economic Forum thinks that they're Thanos. They think that by lowering the population, it will save the world. They believe they're doing good. That's how they justify it in their mind. They believe, like, I have to do this to save those that will be left. So they don't find themselves as the villains.
So how are they
But
killing us?
the food is poison. The pharmaceuticals, they don't cure you anymore. They got rid of any cures. Debt, wage slavery, debt slavery, go to college, become a debt slave, get a job in corporate America where you have to do what you're told. You don't have time to think. Put your kids in, government schools.
Think about the way things used to be, though. How were things better before?
Depends on how far back and where you are.
People had less freedom before. They had worse jobs. They had, now people have pretty cushy jobs for the most part. And if they don't, they can move on, and they have a safety net they didn't used to have. There was no
Not
safety
no,
net.
this is not a good safety net.
Well, at least it exists. There used to be no safety net before. Zero.
It depends on what time period you're talking about and what country.
The US, 100 years ago. 100 years
100
ago,
years ago, you could get land.
there was no safety net.
There's never been a
So if
safety net. What safety net?
there's welfare now, but in
Have
the
you ever
90s,
lived on welfare? It's
I know it's
not
terrible.
like you don't make enough to survive.
I know. But there's government housing. There are programs. They're not. I'm not saying they're good, but there's something. Whereas in the 1920s, I think, let's say you had a farm, and you got parasites, and all your crops died off, and you were alone. Well, you were fucked. You were SOL, and no one bailed you out.
Yeah, but they would have multiple types of crops. If this person's crop failed this year, the rest of the community would help them. And if the next person's crop failed the next year, yes, they've always done that.
They?
And
Who's they?
the community would do that. It would be like, I'm growing potatoes, you're growing zucchini, this guy's growing tomatoes, whatever. This time this one fails and we all give him some of our stuff. That's how it was.
Like
I
like
mean,
Charles Webb. Yeah, same.
no. Okay, you were talking about like insane. Okay, for example, I can speak on where I come from, my dad's side of the family. My grandfather owned multiple villages, right? And there was farmland. We had indentured servants working the land, all that stuff. What would happen was in every village, he would have a ginormous cellar. And he would take a cut out of everybody's crop and he would put it in the cellar. And then he would, in the winter, hand it out to everybody. And if somebody's crop failed, he would give from the other people's crop to that person. So, like, their family would always have food. Like, nobody would starve. And he had multiple villages. So, let's say in a horrible catastrophe, one village burns down. He can get some rations from the other villages to supplement them until they start up again. I mean, that's just how it was. I'm not saying it's a perfect system. There's never been one. They will never be one because everybody's human that's putting these together. But I mean, the thought that we need the government to save us, it used to be the church. It used to be you give money to the church has some money and it would allocate funds to people who their house burned down to rebuild it. Their child got cancer to give them cancer treatments. You had that. You don't need the government to do that. You only need the government because people now are so disconnected from family, from religion, from community that all that they have is big daddy government and that's it. Do you even like give money to charity? Do you know how rare it is for someone who makes enough to eat every day to not give money to charity in older, just like 100 years ago? It was just like you always gave to charity because you never knew when you would need it yourself and the community would help each other. That was just how it was. Even in
I was.
Georgia, I remember. Huh?
I don't know. I said I don't know. I wasn't there.
Okay. Well, I remember in Georgia when I was growing up, when you were growing up, in Miami, this didn't happen, but in Georgia, they were still like, they had churches when we were younger. They had more community, I don't know, what do you call, whatever, more community tight knit groups. And somebody's house burned down. The churches in the neighborhood and the families in the neighborhood rebuilt that family's home from the ground up. I mean, that would never happen here because we're so disconnected and we're trained to men hate the women hate the men, your neighbor hates your neighbor, this religion hates that religion, this race hates that. Like, you're just indoctrinated to hate each other. And the school is perpetuating it. You have to hate this one because of this happened in history. These are colonizers, so you must hate all of them. These people are this, you have to hate all of them. And if you divide the people, then you need the government because it's the only one that will help you. And then you understand, oh, I give my money to the government because they're the ones who will help me because I can't trust my neighbors, my friends, my
You have to,
family.
because if you don't, you have to deal with the IRS.
Okay, but if enough people realize that if we didn't do that, we could fund each other by helping each other, like how they've always done.
Or haven't
What?
done. I wasn't there. I'm skeptical of this. I really don't think I think people are selfish.
I don't
And
think that. I think if you think people are
honest,
selfish, you'll see
it's a question
selfish.
of scale. It's just a question of scale. I think what you're describing is a sort of small scale socialism, right? Socialism that works on a small scale, but it doesn't work when the scale gets a bit larger, which is
Okay,
why
then why are we in cities if it doesn't work? So you just said it just doesn't work. If we're there, if there's too many people, then we need to split up into smaller groups of people. If that's a
we
solution,
can't.
why can't it be?
We can't. We just can't go back
Yes,
because
we can.
it would be like trying to pretend there's no Instagram, there's no internet anymore, and we're not all connected.
Who
We're
says
all
you have to give up the internet and who says you can't live in a smaller community with internet?
well. Let's say another country which is bigger and more, connected, like India or China, decide to conquer us. Well, if we're all broken up into smaller states, how are we going to defend ourselves?
Do you know the reason why the British finally left India?
Because they didn't like the tea.
No. Nice try. But because it was known to, I think it's like 1,000 kingdoms. It's mini kingdoms. India was known as having like 1,000 or something, or maybe more, millions of mini kingdoms. So they would be not one king, but every village had a king. And they were all separate governments, maybe like 150 people in every village, completely independent. They would have different dialects, different languages, different customs. Every little tiny, they got it right. So then when they went to the capital of India or whatever, and they took control over the big city, they were only able to get that immediate big city. They couldn't get the little tiny villages to listen to them because you have endless amounts of kings and stuff like that. And they had different systems. So it's not like you could pay a politician or whatever off, because if it's a small thing, it's like this family rules this little community for generations. So you can't like pay someone to go and become a member of that family. That's not how it works. So they couldn't intervene in those smaller, which was the majority of India. So eventually they said, okay, whatever, we're leaving, and you just pay us X amount in taxes or whatever.
I
And
don't
the
think
ones
so.
in the big cities, whatever.
Well, no,
You don't
because
think
then, well, no, because then they wouldn't have been able to conquer African states either. Because you had the same sort of tribal thing going on in Africa, even more so. Yeah, all you had was a
well,
bunch of small tribes that didn't even speak the same dialect. You
what do
know,
you think Africa looks like now though?
is that a trick question? I mean, what am I?
No, I'm asking you. Like, what do you think it looks like? Do you think it looks like tribes?
No, I know that it was. No, I'm talking about 200 years ago. I'm talking about when the British colonized parts of Africa, and when the French colonized large parts of Africa. When it was being colonized, like it's not like, oh, well, they're all these small tribes. We're not going to be able to manage this. It's too difficult. No, they just use brute force. They use their technological superiority to conquer them. It was just easier because of that. Maybe in India they didn't have such a big advantage. Maybe that's why they're like, oh, this is going to be messy. Is it going to be worth it? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just skeptical that what you're describing is the reason why they had to pull out of India. But I'm not an expert. I'm not a historian. I don't know. I know I'm pretty sure they continued to use India against China. They got the opium from India. They sold it to the Chinese, and to do that, you didn't need to have a colony. You could continue to exploit them. But then again, no, we're talking about the 1940s. All that was ancient history by then. No, in the 1940s, you know what it was? It's probably like throughout history, there's been this trend towards less brutal occupation, right? Because if you look at what the Spaniards did in Latin America, it was brutal, right? French colonization was a little less brutal, you could argue. And then when you get into the like mid 1800s, late 1800s, it's no longer, you can't even really call it colonization in some places. It's just like very strategic. They're like, well, we're going to lease this, we're going to buy this, we're going to borrow this, we're going to control this. You know, it's a lot more strategic. It's not like, yeah, we put our flag down and we own this, and fuck you if you don't like it, we'll shoot you. Because the world is watching. And by 1946, you know, you can't, you know, especially after World War II, I think you had to be a little more careful because your neighbors were going to be like, hey man, that's fucked up. What are you doing? You weren't able, you could no longer get away with what the Spanish did in Mexico and South America. You couldn't get away with that anymore.
I mean, I feel like they're doing it now.
There's always a false, like there's an official story, like, oh, we're liberating them because they're gassing their own people, and we're the saviors. We're gonna save them. They don't know how to govern themselves, so we're
Yeah,
gonna
everything is like, oh, they look like they have some resources. Let's give them freedom.
exactly.
But I think people like are waking up to that fact now.
To what fact?
To that
That
fact that most of the wars are about resources and control
you
of an
think so?
area.
You think a lot of people are waking up to that fact? I don't know.
I don't
I'm
think I know you're just trying to be a dick, but
no, I'm
there's a
not.
lot of people. No, but I'm serious. There's a lot of people in the US that would just everything face value what the news said up until maybe a few years ago. Everything was face value. They didn't care to look into it. They're just like they're jealous of our freedom. That's why we got to bomb them.
Has that really changed though a lot? Like if we look at percentages, like percentage wise, because yeah, maybe more people are less gullible, but
There were
more people
definitely
are
look
still
look look.
gullible too, because you've got
Yes.
more people.
There was okay, look, for example, for me, I did not give two shits what the news said. I didn't care. I didn't even think to look into it because I didn't care. I didn't care about politics. I didn't want to know. I thought my friends who were into politics were miserable, and I'm like, eek, I don't want to be miserable, so let me not pay attention to that because that looks crazy. So whatever the news said, I'm like, yeah, whatever, I guess so. But I didn't internalize it. I'm just like, oh well, whatever. And there's a lot of people who are like that. They're just like avoiding that because they're just like, this is, I have other things to do. I don't really want to know about this or whatever. Somebody smarter and wiser will figure it out. I don't have time. And then when COVID happened, it's like suddenly everybody's like, oh crap, they're lying about this. Are they lying about that? Yeah, they're lying about that. And they're lying about a bunch of things. I woke up a little bit before COVID because of my health concerns. Because I would go in with a problem, a symptom, and they'd give something to cover up the symptom.
Or
And
not
then I
even
would look,
something totally unrelated sometimes as well. Like I got
yeah,
antibiotics for two or at least two things that were totally not related to not bacterial in any way, nothing you would ever need antibiotics for. And I got they always had antibiotics for me. Like they were trying to get rid of, they were trying to sell them, you know, like that was the product they were trying to push, antibiotics
yeah.
for a while. Did you ever go through that? Did you ever
I had, how about this? I had a UTI every other month for 10 years.
yeah. You
And
need to you
each
need
time I
to
would, huh?
you need to bathe. You need to bathe better, Kat.
Shut
I
up,
mean,
whore.
yeah.
Anyways, and then I was on birth control. They said this will help get rid of your acne and your PMS and your painful periods and nausea and vomiting every month, right? So I took it for that. And then I started getting like more headaches, splitting headaches all throughout my cycle. So that was not good. And then I started getting the chronic UTIs. I'm like, what could it be? I was only on birth control. I would tell every doctor, every specialist, urologist, everybody, I'm only on birth control. I'm on nothing else. I don't do anything. I'm not even having sex. Like, I don't understand why I'm getting this. And they're like, it's the same. Are you cleaning? I'm like, fucking yes. You think I'm not stupid? Like, you think I'm stupid? Oh, God. Anyways, so I finally said, I'm taking birth control. Let's read the insert 5 million pages to see what the hell this says. And there it was. Chronic UTIs is one of the possible side effects of the medication. Not one single doctor that prescribes this on a daily basis to hundreds of women mentioned that could be a possible side effect, and they all knew I was taking it. What the hell? And that immediately it broke the spell, and I said, I can't trust these people. And then you just get sad. You're like, I'm on my own. I have to become my own doctor, my own this, my own that. You have to do everything yourself now. So
Well, you can, whereas before you couldn't.
you can, but there's still a lot of misinformation from the drug companies, especially if you Google things. The first results are going to be like, this drug is great. What are you talking about? That's misinformation. And then you have to go down to like the Reddit threads, or somebody in like a community on Facebook will say, look at the insert. It's there. Or like, I remember my dad was taking like all these medications and he had this chronic cough. So they were giving him 50 medications for the chronic cough. And then one lady was like, a pharmacist or something, she's like, see if he's on this blood pressure medication. It gives you a chronic cough.
Sorry, I lost you for a minute there. I lost
It's
you
okay.
for about 15 seconds. Can you repeat that?
Yes. So my dad had a chronic cough, and a pharmacist we knew said, see if he's taking this medication for blood pressure. One of the side effects is a chronic cough. He found out. The doctor who gave him that, he said, he literally said before, could this medication, this brand new medication, have anything to do with my chronic cough? And the doctor that prescribed it said, no, absolutely no. He took it for another 6 months and tons of cough medicine, strong stuff. And then the pharmacist said, check if he's on this. And of course, he was on that. They changed to a different one, and the cough magically disappears. That's our healthcare.
Why do you think that is?
Doctors are taught by the people who write the texts, the people who fund the schools, are pharmaceutical companies. They don't teach you how to cure. They teach you how to make profit. Profit means you need people on chronic medications. You mean they need chronic conditions. One thing people don't know is these conditions that we hear, high cholesterol, high this, or pancreatic this, or whatever, all these conditions, those are actually patented names from the drug companies. The reason why you can't say I can cure cancer with X, Y, and Z herb or whatever is because the word is patented and you're using it without permission.
Cancer? No.
Everything, every sort of condition, all of that. I think even like the organs and stuff like that, they could be patented. So you have to get around all that legalese.
No, I don't think you can patent the name of an organ. I doubt that.
Okay, let's see. Yes, you can. Anyways.
So who owns the patent on stomach, and how are we allowed to use it without paying
Look,
them?
I don't know. You can probably look up in the patent office a bunch of cool stuff. It's on Google. It's super fun. I do it sometimes.
I wonder what else you could patent.
You can patent so many things, and then you just can sue people for profit. Amazon patented. You know how most people take product photos with a white background? Amazon patented the ability to do that. They have not yet gone after anybody, but they hold the patent. So whenever they feel like it, they can go after everybody who uses that.
How do you know this?
It was like an article I read. I thought it was funny. And because when I was doing photography, you have to know these things. They're like, always put something in the background. Don't use all white background. Use a different color. Make it slightly off-white. Stuff like that. They would tell you.
I think technically it's not legal to take a picture or to do anything with a picture of the Eiffel Tower with the lights on. You could do it during the day if the lights are off, when the lights are off, obviously. But at night, if it's a picture of the Eiffel Tower with the lights on, you can't use it for any commercial purpose. because I forget why. I forget why, but something about that image being owned or being patented or something. I forget. Copyright protected, some shit like that.
Yeah, so there's all these little silly things. Whatever. Anyways,
Anyway,
yeah. What time is it over there?
it's 9:40 because now there's a 5-hour difference between us, whereas usually it's 6. I think for about a
Cool.
week. Because
No,
we've
because
already.
our time changes on Sunday.
All right, so just a few more days. But I mean for a week total, because we already
Yeah.
changed a few days ago. I think
Mm-hmm.
we changed over the weekend. I think it was Saturday to Sunday we changed. So it's a week. For this week, it's been different.
They've been talking about getting rid of daylight savings times forever, and they still won't do it. It
What would
causes the Monday after daylight savings times or whatever. It's the most heart attacks, the most
Yeah.
murders and whatever, motor vehicle accidents, all that stuff.
What would the alternative be though?
Just don't do it. Like they started it recently. It hasn't always been like that.
Hmm.
We don't really need it. It's fine. Sometimes it'll be dark, sometimes it'll be light. Who cares?
Yeah. There isn't much of a difference there anyway in Miami.
Well, it is in the fact that like it takes about a week or two for your body to adjust to going to
No, no,
bed
no,
at a different time.
I mean light. I mean the days don't really vary a whole lot from
Yeah,
between
we
the sun.
have a lot of sun. I mean, still sometimes it'll be early and getting very dark or
Yeah, but
whatever.
never like 5 o'clock, for example. I think it's rare for it to be dark at 5 o'clock there.
Yeah, usually like 6 would be the earliest, but still. I don't really care about when the
Dark,
sun goes up and down. I more care about like sleep.
but dark? I don't think it'll ever be dark at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Is it dark
I
at
mean,
six?
I haven't paid attention, so I don't want to say, but I know sunset sometimes was at 6.
Well, what about now? When does it get dark now? When is it dark there now?
No.
Oh, because now it's pretty early still. It's what, 4?
Okay, 6:39 is sunset in Miami.
Yeah, and we're heading towards the shortest days of the year. So let's say by Christmas time, which is when you get the winter solstice, right? Winter
Mm,
solstice? Is that what it's called?
yeah.
You get the shortest day of the year. It'll probably be like sunset will probably be like at 6 o'clock, maybe 5:50 something. Whereas here, when you get to the shortest days, it's sometimes you feel like, man, it's 5 something. It's already nighttime. Or I'm convinced sometimes it's like even 4 something. It already feels like it's dark, depending on the day. You really feel the difference here. In the summer too, the days are really long. Like 10, it'll still be bright out sometimes, you know. It never gets like that in Miami. It's never daytime at 10 o'clock there.
No.
No. Here it's like 9 something and it might still be bright out.
All
Might
right.
be.
So I think we should end here
Mm-hmm.
and think of another topic for next time.
So none of this is recorded, right? When we
Yes,
do
it
live.
is.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you said that at the beginning.
Bye.
Bye.